Hey guys, I'm a science potato, and today I'm going to be doing a commentary on my Adeptus Custodes flame sword from the Warhammer universe. This sword is based off this concept art right here. So you can see this Custodes dreadnought with his awesome flame sword. And after I saw this image, I basically thought, yeah, this is the next sword I need to make. And I really like to make full-size weapons, so the sword is actually about 1 meter tall. Most of the swords I've made are about that size. This is my 4th sword that I've done. So from this single image, I basically designed this entire sword here. So we'll give a quick roundabout of our sword. You can see the blade on the one side wasn't actually colored. I just colored it to get an idea for how I wanted it to look. We got a nice spiral on the handle there. Lots of detail with these shapes taken from our reference image. Although to create these shapes, all I did was sketch a couple splines, offset them, and just extrude them. Some pretty simple stuff just to create those shapes. We got some text on here as well as some iconography from other designs I've done that I've just imported into this design. But of course, we're only looking at the 3D model here. There is much more data to it. How I created this 3D model was from 2D sketches, which I sketched out and extruded into 3D shapes. So now I'll turn on those sketches so we can see them. So you can see there's a lot of sketch data in there. It's pretty hard to see with the 3D model there, so I will also turn that off. And now we're looking at just our sketch data. See, there's quite a few sketches there. You can see our unique artistic flair we put on here, which, like I said, is just a simple spline. And we got some text functions in there as well. The most important feature, though, is this line right here. This is the line that I used to determine the maximum size I wanted this sword to be. So you can see this is 1.4 meters in length. Well, if I turn this on, we can see it's not actually that big. I made it a little bit shorter. So I use that line as my reference to determine the maximum size I wanted my sword to be, followed by this line right here, which determines the maximum width of my blade. And that's basically how I got the scale for this sword. So if we cut back in our timeline to the very beginning, you can see my very first sketch has the total sword length and the width of our blade, as well as a basic outline. Turn my bodies on so we can see a couple extrudes. And after I got that blade, now I've got the handle there. So those are really my points of reference. I want to know where I'm going to grip it and how tall it's going to be. So now I'm going to play through the entire design. So you can see the blade, the handle, the blade's starting to get more refined. I used the simple mirror command to create the other side of it. Then we have our actual flame ejectors being designed there, as well as the main mounting point for all the weapons on this sword. Now we're roughing in the shapes on the outside, and we're adding some more detail with chamfers and radiuses in there. Now I'm putting the sort of exhaust ports you generally see on these flamer type weapons on the sides there, and all I did was create some cylinders and cut them out of that shape. There we got the splines, adding in our detail on the blade itself, and now we're adding more detail into the handles there. We added that spiral, and we're just going to keep fleshing that out until I've got a level of detail that I like. There we can see we're adding the iconography onto the edges of the hilt there. And now we're slowly adding in more and more little details. So we got these little brackets there, little mounting rivets. That's kind of a staple of human design in the Warhammer universe. Lots of rivets and embossed plates. Now we've got some color being added in. And we've got our text in there as well. Now I'm adding these orange planes to determine where I'm going to cut this up so that it's 3D printable. And now we're done. And that's how we got our sword. So the flamer here is actually its own separate piece. We can see the blade itself is composed of 4 separate pieces as well. We've got the handle as its own piece. These little artistic flares are each their own piece. And then we've got the core, which is one single piece. So all in all, this design was about, I'd say, 2 or 3 hours of work. Wasn't too complex, mainly because I had our reference art here that I wanted to use for our sword. So the sword isn't actually as detailed as mine is. We can see there's no detail on these hilt features here. They did add this feature on the bottom of the sword where he has his power conduit. But for printability, I wanted to keep the bottom of my handle flat so that it would print really easy and not require any support. I'd also like to mention that this entire sword prints with no support material at all. Everything has been specifically designed so that no support is needed for anything. There is a little overhang here where you could put it if you wanted, but we can see here it's only 30 millimeters across, and that's a pretty small bridge, so most printers should be able to print that without any support material. And that is my Adeptus Custodes flame sword. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. I've got other 3D design commentaries I've done on this channel as well, and I'll be producing more in the future. Thanks, bye.